Hey dudes, Mark back with you. This is Lessons Learned 38 and today's episode is entitled 1984, when which was the era of big hair and colorful clothing and all kinds of weird stuff. Anyway, I've been continuing my testimony through the years in alternating videos, and today we're up to 1984, the era of Ronald Reagan and 80s fashions, big hair, skinny ties. I didn't have a skinny tie, so I wore my loudest tie. And Paisley making a comeback and things like that. Anybody remember that? Anyway, and of course 80s music. And I have mentioned before that I was way too into music in these years, and boy, I remember a lot of the music from 1984. Phil Collins, yeah. Take a look at me now. Remember that song? I used to sing to that. Take a look at my cow. And what else? Billy Idol, Eyes Without a Face. Eyes without a face. Da, 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 da. I remember when that song was around, I and my college roommates were actually driving around the town there looking for a place to stay the following year. It was hard to find housing, and so I started singing, guys without a place, got no place to stay, guys without a place, place. It was one of some of the big songs from that era. Footloose, which I didn't really like, and I never actually saw the movie. Yeah, I'm the one. And Ghostbusters, which is an okay movie. The song made a hit song too. Didn't think the song was that great, but okay. Hold Me Now by the Thompson Twins. Hold me now, oh, warm my heart. I used to sing, sold my cow, oh, bought my farm. Thompson Twins were interesting because none of them was named Thompson, and there were three of them, and none of them were twins. This was the 80s, gang. Bonnie Tyler had a huge hit, Holding Out for a Hero, and that became the theme song of a show called Cover Up, and that premiered later in 1984. What else? Billy Joel had several hits from his Innocent Man record, including 1984. Leave a tender moment alone. I used to sing, leave the chocolate donuts alone. And what else? Modern Day Delilah. There was a song based on the Bible story. She's a modern day Delilah. Keeps her scissors razor sharp. When she finds your weakness, da 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 da, cut you to the heart, or something to that effect. By a one-hit wonder, I believe. Van Stevenson. They even resurrected a song from John Lennon, 1984, to make a little more money off of him, even though he'd been dead for 4 years. This was called Nobody Told Me. Nobody told me there'd be days like these. Eddie Grant had a song from the hit movie Romancing the Stone. I'm romancing the stone, never leaving your poor heart alone, every night and every day. Da 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 away. I used to sing, I'm financing my home, never leaving your go-kart alone. I don't know what financing your home has to do with leaving a go-kart, but it fit. State of Shock. Michael Jackson did a duet with Mick Jagger. It was better than it sounds. Corey Hart. I wear my sunglasses at night so I can, blah, 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 blah. Don't masquerade with the guy in chains, oh no. Yeah, we had some interesting music back then. Tracy Ullman, who later had a TV show that had little segments in between the skits of a little cartoon called The Simpsons that later turned into The Simpsons Show. Anyway, she had a hit called They Don't Know About Us. Yeah, Anyway, Christopher Cross, Think of Laura. He had that weird clipped way of singing. Think of Laura, laugh, don't cry, I know that. What else? Michael Jackson had his 7th and final single from the Thriller album called Thriller. How about that? And then several songs with questions. Kenny Rogers, What About Me? I don't know, Kenny, what about you? Howard Jones, What Is Love? What is love anyway? Does anybody care about love in any way? Oh, 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 oh. Tina Turner, of course. What love got to do with it? And When Doves Cry, Prince, which was, I believe, the #1 song in 1984. And Yamo Be There. Yamo Be There. Up and over. Anybody have to remember that one? That was a very Christian sounding song, actually, by James Ingram with Michael McDonald. Anyway, 80s music. As I mentioned a couple of videos ago, I had just come off of a momentous summer. The Christian singing group I was in got to sing at Jesus 83. God clearly did a miracle in making a way for Money Less Me to return to college. God moves in mysterious ways. Here's a lesson. We can't always see or know why things happen at the time. But He gave me that burning desire to return to Kutztown University. He gave me the money to do it. Even though I didn't have money, I had left Kutztown a year and a half earlier, not thinking I would ever come back. But God clearly brought me back, and not long after I got there, I met this girl named Beth. 3 years later, we got married, and we're still married. If I hadn't followed God's plan, I wouldn't have met her. So, lesson, seek and follow God's plan, believer. Matthew 6:33. You won't be sorry. When are you sorry? When you follow your own plan. That 83 to 84 school year was hectic but busy. Yes, hectic but busy. It was also great. Let's call it hectic but great. I got to meet new people like Beth, as well as reconnect with old friends, and I got right back into the Christian fellowship group, InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, that I had been in there before. The hectic part, I was living 2 lives, but in a good way. Mild-mannered college student by day and by week, Monday through Friday. But then every Friday I would travel home in my second-hand 73 Volkswagen Beetle, Robin's Egg Blue, and work at my convenience store job, which I've mentioned before, usually about 22 hours a weekend. 6 to midnight Friday night, 8 to 4 Saturday, 8 to 4 Sunday. And while home on the weekends, I also somehow managed to squeeze in some Bible studies here and there, jubilation practices and concerts. That was the Christian singing group I was in, I've mentioned before, and Fishers of Men practices and concerts. That was the Christian choir I was in. Then I would drive back to school Sunday night, wiped out. I also managed to fit in a few Christian concerts that fall. I don't know how I did all this, including a Randy Stonehill concert. Any Randy Stonehill fans out there? He's still making music. The Bible tells us to redeem the time. Use your time. If you're a believer, what are you using your time for? Now, I had to work a lot and I was going to school, but the rest of my time I managed to fit all this stuff in. You know, don't say I don't have time for the Lord after you just heard my crazy schedule. Spend your time about the things of the Lord as much as you can. Invest in things that last. I mentioned a couple of videos ago also that though I started in college as an art major, God made it clear after the first semester that art was not right for me. So I dropped it. And then I was without a major for a year. And then I had to leave school. But by my return, I had landed on English as a major. Unlike art, I knew I was good at it. And I attempted to make up for lost time. This was not a good idea. I signed up for 4 literature classes that fall because I thought, okay, I'm really a junior now by credits. I'm just now declaring my English major. I need to catch up. So I took 4 literature classes. That was too much reading. I couldn't keep up. I ended up dropping one of them partway through the semester. I did all right in the others though. But the point there, don't rush things. Don't get ahead of God's schedule. I was also searching for the right girl at this time. Now, I mentioned I'd recently met this girl named Beth, and I liked her fine, but we were only friends, and I was friends with several girls. I couldn't seem to succeed in getting past the friend stage, or as we call it today, the friend zone, with any of them. I wrote in my journal on the last day of 1983, and I quote, "If there is someone out there who I'm to become married to, I'm sure God will bring us together in His time. This is something I need to trust Him with." And He did in His time. It wasn't that year. It wasn't 1984 either. And it wasn't first half of 1985 either. But it was in His time. And He made it come about. Again, don't make decisions on your own. Look to God. 2 Chronicles 20:12. Quote, "We don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you." We talked about that last time. Wait on God. Don't make decisions on your own timetable. Psalm 27:14. I also got some good godly counsel at this time from some trusted Christian friends and some crusted Tristan friends. Just kidding. Proverbs 11:14. In the multitude of counselors there is safety. No Lone Rangers, gang. We've talked about that before. Well, after a action-packed Christmas break, I drove back to school mid-January, nearly frozen. What is it with Volkswagens of that era and heat? It was like oil and water. They did not coexist. Anyway, I saw Beth when I got back and talked to her a bit. We were still in the friend zone, but God was paving the way, even though I didn't know it at the time. God was paving the way for later. Jubilation singing group I was in got a gig late that January to sing in a prison. That was the first and only time we got to do that. What an enjoyable and great experience that was. We ministered to the inmates there. They sang to us as well. They had this cool song, "Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want." That's all I remember of, but it was pretty great. My classes that spring semester were good. Following the Lord's plan now, majoring in English, and things went more smoothly than they had before. I had had years of French. I needed a foreign language. I had had years of French early on, but nothing in the last 5 years since my junior year in high school. So I started back with French 101. Figured, take it safe, which proved quite easy, so that was helpful. I also took a creative writing poetry class. My first poem got ripped to shreds, but I profited from that. I did not quit. I took the counsel to heart, not personally, and I did better from then on. I've since had some poems published. So, yeah, take criticism if the shoe fits, and be willing to grow from it. I also took a class called Discussion because you had to have some sort of required speech class, but I was so terrified of public speaking that I dropped that class early on before I ever had to really do anything. More on my public speaking phobia in future videos. It's a great story how God conquered that fear in me eventually, but this did not happen in 1984, so hold that thought. In February, I started going to one of the small group weekly Bible studies that were being led by students in the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship at the college. And after going to one of these studies, the student leading the group asked me if I'd like to take it over. I was rather speechless, said I'd need to think about it, of course pray about it. But it occurred to me then afterwards that, this might be one of the reasons why God called me back to this school. So I prayed about it and I accepted. I got some training then from this student and supervising person over the Christian Fellowship, and then I started leading the Bible study, praying for God's will to be done through me. So lessons there. Do what God calls you to do. Keep your eyes open. Be available. Meet needs. Establish a good reputation, a good honest track record of doing good and having a good witness before all who know you. And see what God does with that. He may be using you for something short term. I think I went on and led Bible study the following year as well. After that, moved on to other things. Or he might be preparing you for something in the farther future. Be open. My grandmother, my mom's mom, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer about a week after I got home from school that May. My mom flew down there down south to be with her. And my mom called us the day after she got there to say that her mom had passed away. I was hurt and I felt bad because I didn't know what to say to my mom, how to help her. I wish I'd been better prepared. Somebody may come to you in a time of need, in dire straits, in a crisis. I wasn't ready. If you're walking in the Spirit, as we're supposed to be, you'll know what to say or do in a given situation. Always be ready. And finally, that May, I made a quite ambitious list of summer resolutions. I think this was largely in the flesh. I was trying to be a better person. This would look pretty impressive from worldly standards, but that's not how the story ended. Anyway, here's my list. A set time, 6 days a week, to write for 1 hour. Not just write for an hour, 6 days a week at the same time each day. Item 1. Item 2, daily journal entries, which I'm glad I did because that helped me come up with material for this video. Number 3, daily calisthenics. Yes, I was a rather puny lad at this time. Number 4, completion of French 2, independent study. Tall order. I brought some books home that summer. Didn't end up using them. Number 5, a budget to ensure I would have ample funds through the next school year. Good idea, right? Number 6, daily Bible reading. I'm not sure why that wasn't number 1, but it was on the list at least. Number 7, enter one writing contest every week. Number 8, read one book every 2 weeks. Number 9, cut down caffeine. Number 10, cut out cholesterol. And number 11, cut as much sugar as possible. I don't know why at that age I was worried about cholesterol. I am now. Anyway, I'm not sure much of all that was God's plan beyond the daily Bible reading, though it sounds like it shows great self-discipline, right? But at that point in my life, the truth is, I was much more excited about starting such lists than I was about following through on such lists. I think I fell short on most or all of those things. Unless the Lord builds the house. Psalm 127:1. Unless the Lord builds the house, you labor in vain. So, in conclusion, follow the Lord's plans, not your own. Follow His timing. Wait on the Lord. Make yourself available. Keep your eyes and ears open for what He's calling you to do, and walk in that. Be a blessing to others. Use the talents and gifts He's given you. This is Mark. This has been Lessons Learned. I hope this has helped you. We'll see you next time. Bye.